A ver. Freedom Games. Por ahora lo que conozco de Freedom Games son buenos, así que... Oh, pixel art.
Well, make a video game. I guess everyone wants to do that.
Mucho pixel art, me gusta.
You really want to make your own universe.
Un pantallazo por arriba de lo que se viene, tal.
Kind of a passion project turned into having a small staff and full funding.
There's a lot of firsts here in this project.
We knew it was like kind of way more than we could handle, but if we just work hard and put our minds to it and make the game we want to make, we think we can be super successful.
World Premiere. A ver.
Good Heavens is a cozy open-world sandbox crafting game with procedural map generation and storytelling. The player's goal is to improve their base and character while exploring a rich world with different biomes, races, cultures, and cities. We offer a unique dynamic class system for co-op multiplayer, enabling various playstyles. It's possible to play a game as a fighter, farmer, cook, miner, trader, or even as a card player. Each player in multiplayer can play individually within the team. Some of them are exploring, slaying monsters, and doing quests from the cities. Others are building the base, farming and taming animals. Traders are building roads and trying to find unique resources from other cities. The team events gather the team together. Slaying a boss or organizing a beer festival can be team events. The world of Good Heavens is created procedurally. Moreover, the races, the cities, and their cultures, also the history of the city with its neighbors and their behaviors, are procedural as well. Players might come across wild combinations. A town of nudist elves are radical and aggressive as part of their behavior, so they're attacking anyone who enters their town with their clothes on. Another random combination could be BDSM-loving vampires or hippie werewolves. It's a comedy game with that in mind. Once we create the world with its towns, cultures, and history, the world will start interacting with itself. The cities are evolving according to their cultures and their respective technology path. They trade with other cities and harness resources from their environment. If the player gives them the tech, they will continue their evolution. They will make new buildings. With those buildings, they will make new weapons, and eventually they will attack.
Está bueno, no es como solamente el juego muta dependiendo de las decisiones que tomaste, sino que
then it means we want you on board as well. So jump in.
No, o sea, no solamente los personajes van cambiando y van reaccionando según tus decisiones, sino que también el mundo. Eso está muy bueno. Pero no me gusta mucho el diseño gráfico.
I would say that
a mí no me gusta, no significa que sea malo.
The engine that you can play forever.
Muy interesante, la verdad. O sea, súper único.
In a casual way or in a hardcore way, it's up to you. The game has a massive scale map. We have different biomes and we have different resources and animals and monsters on each of these biomes. And we have also this NPC and cities layer on top of this. So you can build your own base. You trade between those cities and you try to find the balance in this world in the end. And every time you restart the game, there is a new challenge waiting for you. Some of them start as a more developed city.
Tiene un nombre,
a small town and
ese diseño, en plan, ese diseño gráfico, ¿no? Ese diseño de dibujo, no me acuerdo cómo se llama, pero está bueno, pero a mí me quita mucho. Pero el juego está súper interesante.
You get quests from them, and then for yourself you try to improve your base, improve your character. So you kill some monsters, you hunt for some animals, and you craft some things for your base and yourself. And every time you restart the game, you find that these races and cultures are different from the previous game. And there's some kind of a new story in between them. That's the procedural part of the game. These cities will have different ambitions, they will have different relationships with each other, and you will find different quests in each time you restart the game. It enables you to tell different stories every time you restart the game. I mean, we don't want a linear game that's the same every time you play. I mean, the magic of procedural generation is to give you a different challenge every time. So you're building your character, and you might try to build a farmer character, for example, or a warrior character, or a trader character. Starting with the biomes, each of these biomes can hold different races, and each of these races can have different cultures. Depending on those cultures, they have different buildings and classes in those cities. So those guys you can trade with, take quests from, and just go into some dialogues with them and try to find out about the rest of the world. So depending on how you start the game, single player or 3-player or 7-player, the difficulty of the game will change. Our procedural generation works quite well. I was afraid that it wouldn't be this easy to handle a huge map like this. It would create some problems. The second thing is the combat system we are developing right now is somehow better than many of these current multiplayer crafting games, I would say. It's been around a year since we started working on the early concepts and research about procedural generation. It took us some time to overcome some of these technical challenges. We're not the first overcoming those, but it took some time nonetheless.
Está bueno, me gusta. Empezaron con uno bueno. No lo voy a probar porque es lo mismo. Me pasa lo mismo con el juego este. Me lo regaló Batucazo, que es muy interesante, pero el estilo gráfico a mí me quita bastante, la verdad. Esperen un momento, que no lo tenía ni abierto. A ver, ¿cómo se llama? Se llama Don't Starve. El Don't Starve Together está muy interesante. El gameplay parece divertidísimo y tal, pero el diseño gráfico, pero tal, de nuevo, es que es algo que no me gusta a mí. Es... ¡Toma! Pero bueno, qué agresividad, ¿no? Symphony of War. Bueno.
Tell of a golden time in years past of great clashes, heroes, and triumphs.
Pixel art. Subida de nivel. Batalla por turnos. ¿Quién es esa mina? 50 diferentes clases. Siren, Sentinel, Canon, Blow Your Army, Mago, 40 horas de campaña. Dragones también, una locura. Arqueros, demonios, pero bueno, magos, alados.
Hey everybody, Phil, lead designer for Symphony of War, the Nephilim Saga. 6 years ago, we set out to create a
Qué bien hecha que está, ¿no? La conferencia por ahora, bien.
We're finally ready to announce the first title's official launch date, and that launch date is right now, today. Please go check it out at the Steam store. RPG fans, we think you're gonna love it.
No se puede jugar.
I want to send out a special thank you to everyone who's followed and supported our development along the way.
Bien diseñada,
If
eso
you
me
want to give
referí.
it a try, we hope you enjoy playing it as much as we enjoy creating it.
Bien, vos, así se hacen, ¿entendés a lo que voy? O sea, no es que sea molesto que los directores o los diseñadores hagan hablar. Me parece perfecto que salgas a hablar, pero loco, tipo, salí, no a poco, pero que salgas a decir algo con sentido, no que haya un presentador diciendo wow, so good, perfection, so good, o sea, como que salga alguien que te diga, pa, loco, mirá, hicimos este juego de tal, pueden encontrar tal cosa en este juego, ya está ahora para jugar en Steam, espero que lo disfruten, o sea, está perfecto, o sea, me parece, me mostraste el gameplay, me mostraste el diseño, me mostraste todo, me explicaste el lore,
My name is Phil,
espectacular.
and I am the co-founder of Dancing Dragon Games.
Mira, y me dan más
Infinite
info.
War, the Nephilim Saga is the first in a strategy game series that we are
Strategy
developing.
Game Series.
It is
Primero.
a
¿De qué están
political
preparando?
war drama. Your protagonist is a Imperial Army
Opa, mira,
officer.
una interfaz de
Some
chat y
shocking
tal.
events happen. You get framed for murder. You have to clear your name. There's so many twists and turns, and you saving the world as you do in these games. I love to
Hay
tinker,
lore.
experiment. I want to be able to set this up and then auto battle. I want to have a little bit more automation, and Symphony of War delivers that exactly. It's turn-based, and the bulk of your micromanagement is done before you go into a mission or a chapter in a home-based sequence, and I love that. In the home-based phase, you will be
Me encanta que él mismo diga, "Ah, amo eso", o sea, me encanta.
conscripts or
Está bueno, loco,
You can buy
olvídate.
artifacts at the
Estaré
shop.
exaltado por tu
You will
juego.
be able to tech up. You can go into the support conversations and have the characters interact with each other, react to the events of the world. You can do friendships, bonds, which is love and romance, and family. Tactical phase is the other half. Your squads that you've built are plopped down into a map. Boom, that's my army, that's my setup, it's beautiful. Mission go. So we've got open terrain, which includes your plains, your roads, grasslands, stuff like that. And you've got your rough terrain, what's your woods, your swamp, your townscapes. You have your squads, and you've painstakingly made their formation, chosen their class, chosen their leader, their traits, their artifacts, and you send them in, and you go, and then you sit back and watch. The enemy is pretty clever in this game, I gotta say. Hats off to my programmer for that. So, I love the classes. There's heavy infantry, heavy cavalry, light cavalry, light infantry, archery, firearms, magicians, support, and dragons. You start at tier 1, and then the ultimate is your tier 4. You start as a piddly little guy with leather armor, and then you upgrade to a guy that's a little bit cooler. Now he has full plate armor, and then you upgrade again to a guy that's really decked out in awesome, like, gilded armor. Out of 50 classes, I think we've done a really good job of getting a really big wealth of pixel art that we can use, and it's beautiful. It's very well animated. Yeah, class system looks freaking good. There's things that will shock you, and there are things that will,
Es que yo odiaría.
things that will
Este
delight
tipo
you.
también de odiarlo.
It's just very visceral. The world
Que presenten tu juego, aunque sea un famoso o lo que sea, y que no sepa
I want this game
de qué va.
to really
¿Entendés?
convey that it is an expression
No lo haya jugado, no haya visto nada, ni un video de programación, ni... Este tipo está hablando en plan con el corazón, ¿entendés? Tipo una onda, loco, esto nos quedó re bien, estamos re contentos con esto y demás, o sea, ya. Salida ahora con un 20% de descuento un 20% de descuento. Espectacular. Y este pollo es el logo de Freedom Games. Y lo hicieron animado en 3D. Laburo.
There was a time when we forgot who we are. We were ungrounded
Survival y tal.
and destroyed our world in the name of greed. But now, we remember. We remember that we are not in control of nature, but we are part of it. The world is our healer, and we are grateful. We are grounded by the air we breathe and seek balance with nature. We are not separate from the universe. We are an awareness of ourselves. Every grain of sand,
Toma.
every forgotten star in the night sky, and every ray of life-giving energy is part of us. You are here to survive, and you are here to find this wisdom. There is a stillness waiting for you. Go and find it. Retreat to NN.
Retreat to NN. A ver, no soy el público de esta gente, claramente. Pero teniendo juegos como Forest,
Justin Hosford, I'm
que
the
ahora sale el
founder of
2.
Head West Studio, and we're making a game called Retreat
Tenés
to
una
Ennen.
competencia bastante fuerte y
Retreat to
bastante
Ennen is first and foremost a survival
trabajada.
game with a more relaxing
Onda,
angle to it and a little bit of
lo de
mindfulness
cazar que vi,
mixed
que
in.
le dio al ciervo
I was
y
trying to
después le
make
fue a
a
sacar como las
kind of
cosas al
experience,
ciervo y
and
simplemente lo apuntó
I'd
con
never
la
seen
mano
that
en plan
in a
la
video game
fuerza
before as a core mechanic.
y se
Your abilities in
desintegró.
the game are attached to your spirit level. If your spirit level drains, your health starts to drain, and you lose the ability to do things like light a fire, craft items, sprint, hold your breath underwater for very long. So you need to keep your spirit level up in order to be more effective at survival. And the way that you
No
keep
es
your spirit level
tecnología, es
is through
spirit.
meditation.
O sea,
Meditation
tenés que
is
meditar.
in my life. It seems like something that maybe the world could use even more of now, and if this little game can help even one person achieve that, I think that it's reached its goal.
Gently close your
Jugado.
eyes and take in a nice, deep breath.
Te enseña a meditar, boludo. Increíble. O sea, a ver, diferente, ya ahí dio
For
un
years,
punto.
I was a film and
Pero-
television composer. Because of that, I was able to focus a lot of energy on the score to this game, and I didn't want to just do the obvious chill Zen music. You know, I wanted to make something emotional, even sad at times. I tried to make it, I guess, as connecting and beautiful as I possibly could. To connect people to nature, what we've done is made a very lush, full, rich environment. It's not procedurally
A ver,
generated,
la idea de este juego es
every
conectar
path you take,
a las
every
personas con la
valley you
naturaleza,
walk into, every corner you turn, I've tried to
haciéndolo
make it have
mientras
its own
que
personality.
sobrevivís.
On the main island of Ennen, the tropical island, there's going to be creeks, ponds, surrounded by a huge ocean. And when you go into the redwoods, that's a much larger area. If the player's going to get lost, that's where that's going to happen. The majesty of seeing an elk or a wolf roaming around the Arctic level just looks really cool. All in all, I think that they're very immersive environments. I kind of want this to be a game where people get lost sometimes. There isn't a map or a compass. All you have is a home icon on the last place that you slept. The player's going to kind of have to watch where they're going and just keep an eye on where things are. You got to get out there. You have to explore. There's a variety of animals to hunt on all three biomes, like deer and elk. There are wolves in the game, and we have gillnet fishing. Basically, everything is gathered. You don't cut down trees in this game. You can collect the wood off the ground, the scrap wood and driftwood, and turn that into a beautiful wooden structure with the technology. There is no wasted item in the collection system. Everything has a purpose. It's a hope and a dream that maybe someday the technology that we're developing can actually help us live closer to nature and not continue removing us further from it. So it goes from kind of elementary basic survival all the way up to building this huge dream retreat. Even when the player gets done with the story of the game, they have the option, if they want to at any time, to return to this huge base that they've built and continue meditating and just have this place they can go to relax anytime they want.
Begin meditation.
I want this to be a game where people just escape to their second home away from home and just be in this peaceful environment that they use their creativity to build. And they're a part of the environment and not destroying it.
Qué lástima que no me tienta o sea, no me tientan los juegos survival. Pero qué más que estaría que un juego así se viralice. Por diferente, por un juego que se trata realmente de la meditación, no hay enemigos. ¿Se dan cuenta de eso? No hay enemigos. Pues se vería raro que vos estés meditando y que de repente venga un zombie a morderte o algo, ¿entendés? Tipo, el lobo iba caminando, no te estaba atacando.
My name is Elise. I recently settled in the village of St. Exel, a quiet and isolated place near the sea. But during the annual fair, something happened. Armed troops attacked the village and tried to kidnap us all. I barely escaped, only to wake up completely alone. Stuck inside this place that doesn't feel like home anymore. I am starting to lose all sense of reality.
Broken Pieces. Tenés mi
While I
atención.
was investigating the village, I discovered a deeply rooted sickness. When I started to sink into its abyss,
Arma, de repente, ok.
I was finally able to see more clearly. Because even if this place is constantly challenging me, it also keeps pushing me to question everything.
What?
If by chance anybody is listening, please come help me. I'm not going to last much longer.
¿A dónde estás?
It's now or never.
A ver, que llamó mi atención, pero ¿de qué vas?
Hello, I'm Melvinio, the studio director of Elsewhere Experience, the studio behind Broken Pieces. I am also the sound designer and audio director for the game. Broken Pieces is a game that's set in a coastal village in France. It's an adventure game where you play a character named Elise. There's like some kind of paranormal phenomena that are happening inside the village, and she cannot escape. Our goal for the game was to really catch the attention of the player, and to do so we had to do something inside a world that's feeling very real, something that's tangible. You try and make the player believe in something, and then you switch their perspective. If everything is very realistic, then when you have things that are paranormal, they meet in the crosspoint with the realism. The player would question at first and then integrate inside its perspective of the world. What we really wanted the player to feel is the anxiety and loneliness that the main character Elise is feeling. Loneliness, it's a difficult sensation to communicate. There's
Qué bueno que lo dijo, porque me está dando miedo eso. O sea, acaba de decir justamente que quiere que el jugador sienta la ansiedad y la soledad que siente el personaje. Pero la soledad es algo muy complicado de transmitir en un juego, porque no es solamente vamos a poner al jugador jugando con un personaje que esté solo en el mapa, ¿entendés? Porque eso no lo hace que te sientas solo, es que te sientas aburrido, o sea que estás jugando un juego literalmente que está vacío, ¿entendés? Entonces eso no te transmite soledad. Entonces vamos a ver cómo lo hacen, ¿eh?
There's actually only one character inside the game. You don't talk with anybody, you don't interact with other people. You don't have music. When you want to play music, you actually have to use the tape player inside the game. And I think that's what life is about too. Sometimes you listen to music because you want to break this loneliness. Because there's so many moments where you don't have music. You have to have this constant soundscape of what's surrounding you. We did a lot of recording where we live, and we really wanted it to be very present. All the environment were done by my associate Benoit. He drew most of his references from the region we live in and from the places we see every day. All the architecture surrounding us that are not seen a lot inside the video game industry.
De puzzles.
We are very huge fan of puzzle games, of course, and puzzles are very, very interesting because they give you the opportunity to insert story inside it. They give you the opportunity to talk about things that interest you, and they give you the opportunity to use the world fully and the exploration and the space you are in. The game is pretty unique, you know. The features there's inside it, the way we made things, is very ours. We didn't compromise on that. Thanks a lot for checking out Broken Pieces with us, y on espère que vous serez au rendez-vous. Merci.
A ver, interesante está la demo gratis ya para jugar. Y el tipo lo dijo, este juego es bastante único, pero como lo vimos diciendo, único no significa bueno.
And this is our project, a minimalistic narrative game called Monarch Stories in a modern day setting.
Monarch
So
Stories.
what's the game about? Well, The game will star two different protagonists, Sylvie and Amal, who live in different cities and travel each day on the same monorail, but they never meet because they travel at different times and opposite directions. Along the way they will meet different people and make different choices, but they don't know they are sharing a common story, because what one character does on his route has consequences on the route of the other character. So every choice the player makes will have repercussions, every choice will bring the player to a different story and to a completely different ending. But what does this game have to offer? Well, so first, the game has a story mode with branching storylines and multiple endings, but we also want to offer something new and not common in this kind of games. So we decided to add an innovative asynchronous multiplayer mode, where what one player does on his turn will impact how the story plays out for the other player. And last but not least, we also want to offer a kind of endless story mode with new contents added regularly. Okay, that was it. Thank you for traveling with us, and I hope you enjoyed this short first ride on the monorail.
Interesante, muy interesante. Sin fin de posibilidades.
I'm co-owner of Static Software, very small husband and
Muy
wife
narrativo el juego.
My wife, she's artistic director for the game, and this is our project, a minimalistic narrative video game called Monarch Stories in a modern day pixel art setting. So the game will start with different protagonists, Sylvie and Amal, who live in different cities and travel each day on the same monorail, but they never meet because they travel at different times and opposite directions. So along the way they will meet different people, they will make different choices, but they don't know they are sharing a common story, because what one character does on his route has consequences on the route of the other character. So basically every choice the player makes will have repercussions, and every choice will bring the player to a different story, to a completely different ending. We have around 10 different endings in the game. The funny thing is that each ending is so different one from the other. We're really surprised at the players. It was a huge challenge for us because we tried different ways to manage all these different paths that the player has. And what we find out really to focus everything on the relationships with the other commuters on the train. Monarch Stories is really about ordinary people in extraordinary everyday stories about commuting, human relations, and destiny waiting to be discovered. In a world where everything is so loud, we love to whisper. So we really want to give this kind of experience to players. The game not only can be played, of course, in single player, but we added this innovative asynchronous multiplayer mode for two players.
¿Qué de más? Multijugador.
Different players take turns controlling the two main characters. It's cooperative, so we share the same experience. But the choice made by one player.
Muy interesante. Pues yo estaba pensando eso, ¿cómo haces este juego multijugador? Porque los dos personajes principales viajan a diferentes horarios. O sea, no pasa al mismo tiempo un viaje con el otro. Entonces, claro, primero juega uno y después juega el otro, y tipo sus decisiones tienen que ver con el otro. Está muy interesante.
On Twitch, the streamer plays as one of the two main characters, and one of the viewers can join the game and play as the second character. So really be able to participate together, so play together.
No, ya está, o sea, va a tener un modo de Twitch para que uno pueda jugar con un personaje y el chat pueda jugar con el otro personaje y poder hacer una historia conjunta con el chat. Es increíble. ¿Cómo funcionará eso? Monorail Stories se viene. Me la noto. Muy interesante.
Up from our daily commuting and trying to imagine what's the story behind all the passengers, all the other commuters. If I start talking with somebody of them, will my life change? Will their life change?
Añadido a la lista.
It's really game.
Uy, está la demo también para probar,
Touching stories. Simply enjoy.
Ojo. Muy interesante. Me ganaste ahí, Monorail Stories. Muy interesante, me gustaría ver mucho cómo funciona el multijugador. ¿Juego de terror? Monster. No sé qué sea ahí. Pixel art, ok. Explore an open world. Un movimiento más extraño. Collect monstruos. Pokémon. Gather resources. Otro juego Pokémon-like, loco. Basta, ¿no? Ya hiciste Coromón. Detenete. Pero hay más. Puzzles. Un poco de roguelite, ¿no? Un poco de... Y batallas Pokémon, o sea... ¿Qué les gusta Pokémon a estas personas, por favor? Monster Tribe. A ver, un poco de lore.
My name is Reese. I'm the creator of Boundless Games. We're currently working on Monster Tribe, which is an open world RPG. It's a monster catcher game in kind of like a futuristic native tribe type of setting. What sets this game apart is we decided to go for more of a team-based battling combat, and so you actually use your entire team throughout all battles, and you have a lot of exploration elements that I find maybe aren't explored in most games.
Me gusta el ritmo de la conferencia esta, ¿eh? Qué diferencia, ¿no? Con la de Netflix. Puta mierda eso. Está un poco quemado, pero tremendo
types of
ritmo.
gathering you can do. There's harvesting, fishing, wood cutting, and mining. This system helps to give
mucho luteo, mucho crafteo,
and almost adding a grinding element to our game. This is our downtime, our off time.
El movimiento del personaje es rarísimo.
What makes this game open world,
una meba moviéndose, no sé,
non-linear, is you can tackle any of the areas in the game at any point that you want to, and you can take them on in any order you'd like.
Puedes irte a la mierda donde quieras y puedes hacer todo en el orden que quieras. Monster Collection.
Traditional, throwing some kind of orb or object at it. And so in our game, instead, what we've done is we've created a system where monsters drop DNA as a battle reward. You can then take it to the DNA
El monstruo tira ADN.
Use these to actually revive and resurrect these creatures to then, have them on your team.
Y podés revivir desde el ADN para tenerlos en tu equipo. O sea, no capturas Pokémon.
And so originally it started off as just a way for us to get more variety in monster encounters. That opened up to about 300 different combinations of creatures. And so we just kind of thought, like, why not throw that into the player's hands? It changes their element, their class, and also their design.
Claro, con las cosas que vas looteando podés modificar el ADN del monstruo e irlo modificando a fuego, a tal.
4 slots for your monsters, and so you can have a 4 versus 4 battle, and this takes place on a 3x2 style grid. You can have moves that hit all squares on the battlefield, or just the front line, or the 2
No entiendo muy bien el combate todavía, porque el personaje se pone en el medio para tener un movimiento.
Has in their arsenal to strategize through more than just using the right moves on the right guys. You also have to worry about your position, the enemy's position in this group-based, turn-based combat.
Es un poco el combate de South Park.
For over 2 years now. I'm just proud of the entire process of making it and becoming a better developer because of this game.
A ver, desde luego está interesante el tema del ADN y demás, pero no sé. Me gustó más Coromon como juego Pokémon-like. Qué barbaridad, cómo se ve. Ya que me digas que hay un segundo minijuego que no es solamente dungeon, matar, matar, matar y que después vas a hacer algo con eso. Mira la de Akiri ahí. Neon Blight.
My name is Enrique. I'm a solo dev for Neon Blight, which is a small cyberpunk game that I've been creating for the past 4 years. It's been a huge passion project that I've built since I was 17.
Kilo parió.
Is somewhat Metroidvania and
Metroidvania, roguelike, cyberpunk vibes.
It's not a platformer, but
lo
it
hizo
has
él
those
solo.
kind of elements of an open world map where you explore
De los
different
17
areas.
años lo
It
está
is
haciendo, hace
definitely a
4
bullet hell,
años
especially with the
de
bosses
trabajo.
and
Ese
some
pibe
other
tiene
tasks.
21 años.
Go into a room and then
bien, ¿no?
you
Sí.
shoot everything you see without worrying about anything. So it's an open world game where you kill bosses and you go
Creo que
back
tener
to your
21
shop
años y puede decir
and
que sos
sell
el
guns, items,
director
and anything that you collect in the
solo developer de un juego.
big open world combat area. If you survive, you can go back to town and sell your
Como un
weapons.
lighter ahí, vender armas y
Story,
tal.
Basically, she's an ex-cop and she becomes a gun shop owner as her retirement, and she's dragged into this bigger than herself story of trying to collect the ultimate weapon before, you know, something bad happens. It's a story that teases a lot of stuff. It makes the player question what kind of world they're in. I think it will lay the grounds for further expansions of the world. There's the main hub called Eden, which is a small town that your player lives in and has her gun shop in. The Neon Stop, which is where you buy all of your items to put in your shop, couches, display units, anything like that. It's a town where you can interact with NPCs and stuff like that. And then there's the Outer Border, which is the combat area. It has 7 different biomes in it. An abandoned forest, the Lone North I call, which is like a snowy biome, a bunker. You explore different shops, talk to some people.
Muy frenético, muy rápido.
Pretty solid. It's fast paced. It can get
Parece.
hectic. There's a few different mobs.
Que además las vidas se van modificando según el jefe. Para este es una espada.
Shotgun, auto, rifle kind of group. And then there's the blight mobs, which is there's a runner that just runs after you. There's one that kind of has a spore, I would say, kind of ability where it's just his head bursts. And then there's bullets that fly everywhere. There's robots also. Quite a bit of variety. I'd say Neon Blight wouldn't be the same without the music. Our composer is incredible, and every time they push something out, I'm like blown away every time. On a personal level, it's very much a labor of love, and for the genre of roguelites, the genre of Metroidvania together, and I think that people that like cyberpunk games will find some nice things in my game, especially in the art style and the world that I built and that my composer.
Sí, a ver, tiene mucho diseño.
The audio and the music.
Cyberpunk y tal, bastante currado, la verdad. Muy interesante, la verdad, para la gente que le gusta los roguelite y tal. Pixelar, muy bonito. ¿Qué es esto? What?
That's just nasty.
Un poco.
Today we're watching a race to the finish. Whether that be the finish line or the grave, who knows?
YouTube Game Be Like, ¿no? Ya sabemos que este juego lo va a jugar el Rubius, Auronplay, etc, ¿no? Bien para hacerte un video ahí. Creador de mapas, multijugador, muertes así super visuales. Puedes jugar desnuda. Impresionante. Se prendió fuego, se cortó la cabeza. Hay un juego que juega de nuevo esta gente que no me acuerdo cómo se llama ahora. Que es de eso, ¿no? Que onda el mapa super loco, 99% imposible y todas esas cosas. Pero ahora se puede jugar multijugador. No, es un poquito de eso. Con el sistema de este juego que se hizo free to play también, el Fall Guys.
First started getting into games, probably about 7 or 8 years old, tinkering around with game engines. I started putting games on the web, flash games and things like that. I always liked the idea of really silly deaths, characters getting blown to bits in like a cartoony way. It's usually an area of frustration, but when you can see your character's head just flying off and blood's going everywhere, it's like you just got nothing but humour there. I come up with the idea of having like a Ninja Warrior / Total Wipeout death competition. I was actually working 2 jobs at the same time as developing the game. I'd have all these fantastic ideas while I was there. You know, I'd be on the checkout just thinking about Slaughter League, and by the time I get home, I'd just like, we ended up deciding.
El tipo laburando en 2 laburos diferentes, pensando en el juego, teniendo ideas y llegaba a programar, llegaba. Qué locura, boludo.
My life to where I want it to be. So to finally be able to do this as a job is just insane. I love it.
Te felicito, flaco, la verdad que seguramente, vamos, yo voy a llegar a YouTube y va a ganar bastante famita, la verdad, espero. Buena conferencia, mucho contenido, mucho tal, muchos juegos diferentes. La verdad que súper bien. Ahorita, pero bastante duro. El diseño me encantó. Muy Stardew Valley, pero futurista. Build a community. ¡Toma! ¿Estás bien? Waifu. Help your world. Entonces empiezas a crear cosas y tal. Stardew Valley en el espacio. ¿Confirmamos? Cook. Gameplay de cooking. Naturalist Compact. What? Tomatico. What? Tremendo sword. Adventure Unlocked. Pero bueno. One Lonely Outpost. Contame más. Me tenés intrigado.
I would be good at making video games. My mom just sent me a picture of a drawing I did when I was like 8, titled My Own Game. I was diagnosed with Asperger's autism as a child, and I basically kind of just told myself, nah, there's no way I could be in management. But through therapy as a child and then continuing my own efforts, I overcame it. Now I'm doing my dream, doing something I thought I couldn't do. Through this process, I've really learned how valuable people are. There's 20 people on the team. I'm just one of them. And I'm hoping to convey some of that through the game's narrative. You have to have growth and you have to have progress. So for us, with One Lonely Outpost, loneliness helps highlight the value of connection.
Listo. Vendido. One Lost. O sea... Se viene. Añadido. Este no tiene demo. Pero, vamos. ¿Qué? ¿Se va a jugar? Se va a jugar. Sácame una versión para móvil, por favor. Gracias. Mucho pixel art, me gusta. ¿Castlevania? Pero con una criatura, una mascota tal. Cambiar... Oh, armaduras elementales. Bueno. ¿Eso lo puedes hacer cuando quieras o qué? Es un osito. Con un pijamita. Shadows. 9 Years of Shadows. 9 años de sombras. Bonito es. Bonito es un rato. Explícame un poco. ¿Ah? No hay charla. Los developers dijeron, se vende solo. A ver, survival. Cámara cenital. Pasa que survival de zombies con la salida de este juego de zombies que se llama... Este que todavía se está trabajando. No me acuerdo cómo se llama. Que es importante porque tiene una pintaza de que va a ser uno de los mejores, la verdad. Zomboy. Human Eats. No te voy a mentir, la tenés complicada, con el Zomboy. A menos de que no te guste pixel art, que pixel art es un poquito lo que es Zomboy. Que no es pixel art, es... Bueno, se entiende. Como tiene los gráficos de los Sims 1.
Of Humanity. It's a open world zombie survival game that you can play on your own, or even better with friends. We're only actually a team of 3. Well, we're nearly 2 years into development of like the actual game.
Me gusta el salto ese que le hace al zombie, está muy bueno.
Actually, nothing to what it is like right now, which is we're pretty proud of, to be honest. Let's think.
Deberías, tiene tremenda pinta.
Make it fun.
Salió de la nada este, no, ni me avisó que iba a salir un anuncio. Toma. Open World.
The open world is one of the main things because the map is pretty darn huge. I think we're up to 8 by 8 kilometers, so people are going to get lost. You can go anywhere you want. You can find spray cans and then you can like track where you are, and it's that way of like mapping out where you've been. So there'll be obviously zombies, there's no getting away from them, but there will be other non-player character AI like bandits, gangs, some friendly, some not. We have like random item spawners that are created for each building. Say me and you were looting like a town nearby. Sometimes you might not get anything, sometimes you might get a little bit. You could go to those locations and hope no one's looted them before you, or it's your lucky day and that loot is there for you to gather.
Bien. Multiplayer, a ver, un poco.
Multiplayer from the get-go. You can play alone and be the survival guy. Playing with friends is definitely how the game is made to be played.
Claro, que es súper divertido, boludo. Estás loco.
Felt like it'd be so much more fun, so you could like
toma
of your sort of buddies, and you could sort of go different paths to sort of cater for the whole community. That one be a builder, one be a combat guy, one be like a farmer, that kind of thing. So yeah, you could kind of mix it up and get the best for like a community. You can kind of like invest in the character, so you can kind of level him up, develop skills, gear it towards a play style. But if you die, you lose everything. To learn your lessons from the last time and don't make them same mistakes again.
Zomboy. Ya bueno, como a ver qué vas a hacer, ¿no?
That was one thing we wanted, is that build anywhere. If it was an apocalypse, you had your own house, you would use what you could to fortify the house that you currently live in. I don't know, the fortification is just one of my favourite parts of the game at the minute. That was one of the things that we first started on, was we literally began with fortification, and then we expanded to there from like, okay, what if someone wants to live in the woods and just be like a hunter? So then we've gone for your traditional logs, build walls, build fences, basically give the player like freedom to kind of build wherever they wanted. Build in a supermarket where there might be some decent food and like maybe like higher ground. That's what we wanted to do. It's literally freedom of the player. That's like story writing. They can kind of play their own way. Say that I'm proud of like what we've done as a team, really. First game that all 3 of us have ever done. A hardcore survival game that is fun to play. And we hope that our passion for these games shows in our game and people just enjoy surviving in our world.
Viendo esto me hace acordar de que tengo que jugar el Este, Game. Pero a ver, interesante es, pero el tema es de que claro, tenés que entender de que está el Zomboy ahí dándolo todo, ¿verdad? Bien. Sands of Aura. ¿Diablo?
Talamel is in its twilight. The sands have buried its kingdoms. Corruption unburies
Un
its
montón de contenido, loco. Bien, Freedom Games. Eso. Pantalla cenital. ¿Me dejas ver algo? Mucha letra, poco juego. O sea. Es raro el diseño gráfico del personaje, ¿no? Está muy alejada la pantalla. O sea, claro, capaz que no es que lo veo muy alejada la pantalla, es que en Diablo, por lo menos por lo poco que vi, está muy lleno de personajes. Entonces, claro, la pantalla cenital, aunque esté arriba, siempre ves un montón de información en la pantalla. Pero claro, acá era como que un enemigo grande peleando contra el prota nomás y estaba muy lejos de la pantalla. Entonces como que era un poco vacío todo alrededor, ¿no? ¿Me vas a mostrar el mismo video que yo me habías mostrado o me vas a explicar un poco de qué va? Me gustó mucho ese poder. A ver.
I am Michael Shistik. I'm the art director for Sands of Aura. Sands of Aura is an action RPG in like a post-apocalypse fantasy setting. You're getting on your sand ship, you're cruising across this desolate wasteland of sand that was caused by this spell plague from ancient times, and the player is gonna unravel and figure out why that happened and maybe what they can do about it. But it definitely emphasizes on action RPG being the difficult, kind of brutal, learn to play it kind of way. You definitely will die a lot.
Dark Souls be like.
I love a good boss encounter. I love overcoming a difficult situation. And for a lot of people, it can be very frustrating. But the accomplished feeling that you get from overcoming these challenges, we think is the most rewarding thing you can have as a player. These bosses are like the climaxes of those areas, of those levels. So when you get there, we want them to be these cool, amazing, difficult, and almost cinematic encounters. Well done. The combat is not as instantaneous as a traditional action RPG. There's a bit of weight to the character's swings and actions, so you do have to be deliberate in what you decide to do in combat. Learning how to do
no
that.
puedes spamear ataque hacia adelante todo el tiempo. Tenés que aprender un poquito los timings.
Amazing when you're getting that dance down. The deaths will become less punishing and they'll come less often as you grow in experience as a player, and we really hope that the people have the willpower to get over that point. We talked about the grind and how difficult the game can be and how challenging these bosses are, and the boat is almost the opposite of that. It's the breath of fresh air of like, okay, I can kind of reassess myself, I can think about what I want to do,
un poco de relax.
Ride on those sand dunes, and you can gain speed if you go down the waves and hop off them, and you see the whole horizon in front of you of all these different features. And we wanted the design to be that whatever feature you see out in the distance, there's something there to go and explore. The simplest terms I could qualify of how our style is grimdark. I think when you go completely grimdark, it's just kind of oppressive and overpowering. So we decided to have this mix. There's a lot of gray tones, there's a lot of like beiges and browns, but you'll get these interspersed scenes on the islands themselves that are brilliant with color and foliage and flowers. And all the different things that you can see in the game, like everything has a meaning, a reason, a story, a purpose. Every dead end has a reward. If it's loot or armor or reward, whatever it is, or an NPC or a character, like there should always be something in every nook and cranny. And that's made the level design way more interesting and worth exploring.
Van a manejar el lore como Dark Souls.
We want you to play with the different builds. I've always loved in MMOs and different action RPGs when you get to build the character you want to play. That actually mixes up the gameplay, that actually makes you think about what you're doing in combat. We want you to have that customization, so we needed to make sure that the armor and weapons and everything that you find to create and craft and customize your character is as unique and interesting as possible. The more inputs you have, the more infinite in range of combinations you can make.
Vaya doble espada de una.
The rune system. The rune system lets you build specific stats into your gear that you want. Like, let's say you want to be more armored, you get put in more armor runes. You want to be faster, you do haste runes. But on top of those, there's Spellblade, which is an elemental enchantment that you can add. Then you have like fire, ice, and lightning that can vary the combat in different ways. And then on top of that, there's also armor sets that have very unique set effects that make the gameplay very different in how you approach combat. And then the weapons, there's weapon heads that have an effect. There's the weapon handles that affect the animation and have effects. And then finally, there's pommels that all have like a poisoning effect, or like when you hit an enemy, there's projectiles that spawn. Being able to build the character you want to play, that was what we wanted to do. Going forward, there's going to be these big patches, and there's going to be a lot that you can check out, and that's worth playing. I think we have an incredible team of artists and programmers. I'm proud of our team, I'm proud of our game, and I hope everybody enjoys it.
Me gusta mucho cómo está diseñada la conferencia en general. Onda, está hablando un montón de gente y no se me hace pesado, van a un poco al grano, o sea... Bueno, la diferencia es que no haya presentadores, literalmente, que no haya alguien que diga ¡Awesome! So good! Ni siquiera haya jugado al juego, ¿no? Tipo, nada. Que se hagan sus directores y digan, estamos trabajando en esto, queríamos entregar este producto por tal y tal cosa. Me gusta. No me esperaba para nada después de ese video un juego así. A ver. Titans Blade. Fire Emblem. Sí, Fire Emblem. No es mi estilo de juego, la verdad. Me gusta el combate por turno, pero ya cuando tenés que estar pensando en las casillas y los movimientos y contar y... no sé. Es como más estrategia, más que... Ya, tenés que estar pensando en todo eso, bro. Es un montón. Anteponer... Que te pase un dragón y que te queme... es un montón es un montón de cosas, la verdad. El dibujo está zarpado, lástima que no tiene nada que ver con el juego, pero bueno. ¿Vampiro Farmer? ¿Qué verga estoy viendo? Papá, Super Saiyan. Ah, y tenés que proteger tu tal. Salen esos demonios a agarrar tu... Voltaire. The Vegan Vampire. The Vegan Vampire. ¡Ah! No me lo esperaba. El vampiro vegano. No me lo esperaba para nada. The Vegan Vampire. Increíble. Maravilloso. The Vegan Vampire. Hay que tener huevos. ¿Qué lo parió? Está bueno porque veo mucha cultura china de acá. De justamente de esto que son terracota. Europea. Gobierno de España. What? Pará, quiero leer eso, no me esperaba. Subvencionado por redes y FEDER. Una manera de hacer Europa. ¿Europa? ¿Pero esto es del juego que viene o del juego que fue? ¿Por qué me parece? ¿No? Medio raro. Survive. Dead Drive. No me gustó para nada. Otro Stardew Valley del espacio. Creador de personaje, coso. Mars Base. Como crear una base de Mars en Marte, pero o sea, es un poquito. ¿Y esto? Zombies. Zombies entrajeados con tremendas armas. Puedes poner metralletas. O de primera persona. Un tower defense de zombies. Terrible. Me parece que sí. Tower defense de zombies. Coromón, genial. Adopt a monster, what? Para, eso me ofende. ¿Cómo dice available on Steam? Nada más. Está para Android. Yo lo probé en Android. No, me ofende, ¿eh? No escondas la mano. Yo te conozco. Yo te conocí ahí. Nos conocimos ahí, ¿eh? Steam y Android. Es un juegazo, es uno de los mejores juegos de Android, ¿está loco? Tengo que jugar a Coromón, la verdad. Ahora que salió de la beta. Cat Café. Coromón. Está yendo para atrás. Ah, no, eran un montón de juegos. Ah, está, estos son juegos viejos de Available Now, claro, como que ya no son juegos que van a salir, sino que ya están, está bien.
For me, playing games is like building memories.
Ahora sí está terminando. Es un poco por todo lo que pasamos. A ver, juegos muy interesantes, ¿eh? Creo que esta es una de las pocas conferencias que vi que me gustaron más juegos de la conferencia. Juegos muy interesantes, muy únicos. Algunos me llamaron la atención nomás. Y espero a ver qué onda en el futuro. Freedom Games. Muy bien. Muy bien Freedom Games, la verdad. Muy buena. Muy buena. ¿Qué decir? Yo lo estuve diciendo mientras que lo estábamos viendo. La verdad que muy interesado en bastantes juegos. Bastantes juegos. Me anoté por acá. Bastante bien. Freedom Games, muy buena confe, o sea, muy buen ritmo de conferencia. No me atomizó la gente que saliera a hablar de su videoshow, sino que estaba bueno porque estaban como que tenían estaba bien montado. Entonces, una onda. Primero vamos a hablar de la historia en general. Después de un poco de qué género es. Un poquito de lore y tal. Tipo onda. 3 o 4 cosas de cada juego ahí que hablaran ahí. Cada uno tenía su tiempo. Estuvo bueno. Tenía buen ritmo. La verdad que estaba bien hecha la conferencia. Y cuando literalmente no tenían nada que decir, simplemente mostraban gameplay con lore, con trailer y demás, y pa' casa. Y así siguieron de largo. Muy bien. Ya no puedo ver más porque no me da más el tiempo. Mañana que toca. Mañana toca Guerrilla Collective, Future of Play, NetEase, Wholesome Direct, DPC Gaming Show y Xbox. No creo que lo hagamos todo mañana, pero bueno, mañana vamos a ir viendo alguna que otra. No sé si va a ir para ver una o dos, pero bueno, hoy pensé que iba a haber solamente una y la de Netflix al final era más corta de lo que pensaba, así que bastante bien. Mañana vamos a poder verla también tempranito y después las demás. El jueves no voy a poder hacer stream. Y el viernes, capaz que podemos hacer stream y toca podcast, que volvemos con el podcast el viernes. Así que los dejo con eso. Yo me voy a trabajar, que tengo que hacer cositas y me tengo que arreglar la barba que está hecha mierda. Gente, muchísimas gracias a todos por estar del otro lado. Y nos vemos en la próxima. Adiós, que pasen bien.